Semi-truck traffic on Sheets Road, Wesley Chapel Road, possibly even Salemton Run Road, day in and day out for months. These are facts, if it's not. It was also said, if it may never come, why try? I hope it never comes, because it's just too much to try to comprehend all at once. This is one meeting and a snapshot of discussions we're going to continue to have on this. But to me, the opportunity here in front of us is that we have the potential to lead this discussion for all of us involved. And if we have an opportunity to have a say for ourselves as a government and as a people, that could affect in a good way the industry so that it would not negatively impact our water, our air, our quality of life, and at the same time allow businesses to flourish, then that chance is not to be missed. So, I think that concludes my comments. And I want you to understand that I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at anybody. It's just very hard to talk about this for all of us. And I'm glad that we're continuing to do that. I need your input continuously. I need your thoughts. We need to do all we can to maintain quality of life and pro-business climate. Thank you. Somebody had a hand up?
I had a hand up.
Charlie.
I just like clarification. You were talking about the boy at the nosebleed. Do you have proof that methane in that well came from Marcellus well that you're using here? Can you tell us absolutely that methane came from Marcellus well?
Mr. Wilfong, I'm going to invoke the right of common sense, as another speaker put it, that when a well is flaring inside the house, and they've been there all their lives and never had that problem, that's a correlation I can accept.
That it doesn't come from a coal bed methane well or a shallow well that's close by? You know that for a fact?
That's my
You're
truth.
putting out for a fact? And you also, I don't know how, with a straight face, you can sit there and say this is not a property rights issue. Where you're taking two people, taking the rights of the citizens of this county away, the resources that you say it's not property rights. When you're taking the right of way to develop the resource that we own, how is it not a property rights issue?
It's a very good question.
I would like clarification.
What I'm saying is no action that I would take your right away to realize the value of your mineral.
Any ban, any moratorium, any restriction is taking that right away.
That's a perspective, and I share that. My perspective.
What legal backing do you have to back that up that is not taking private property rights?
Because it's not taking your property for public use.
Taking of property without compensation is not allowed under the Constitution.
It's my opinion.
By
not
public
taking
entities.
property. This is, any action I would take would be to say what an industry can or cannot do.
Your industry can or cannot do is irrelevant.
Your
You're
land,
dealing with the personal property rights of every person in this room.
those also that do not wish to see this happen. All landowners have property rights, and you have the right to realize the value of the mineral in your land.
And without your intervention, without your interference and control, that could happen by the choice of that landowner, which is their right under the Constitution. Anything that you do to restrict that is a taking. Believe me, I know the law.
Is that to say that regulation of the industry at the state level is taking?
It can be.
Can be.
It absolutely can be.
Can you give me an example of a regulation being considered by the states that, in your opinion, would be taken?
Being considered.
Yes. Forced cooling, for example.
Forced pooling can do taking of the property rights as well. And it will be challenged.
agree with you completely. This is very tough. But no action I would take would say you can't do this or you can't do that. That's not against the land. I'm very concerned with an industry that, in my opinion, doesn't really care about any of us individuals or our way of life here would do. Any other comments? Mr. Burns?
I don't understand what you're talking about. You re-speak yourself. You speak a lot like a bomb on TV, you know? You got me so confused. Chuck was explaining things, you know? I'm sure the new drilling they got out now is more safer than it's ever been.
That's true.
You know? And some of the people, his consultants are right now overseeing the work that's being done on that building. And they're private individuals. You know, I mean, the property owner has that right to hire his own consultant to oversee this work. You know, to see if that drilling is being done right.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. We don't have time to open the whole floor for further comments, but there's a few hands up, and I'm just going to stop after a few hands. Ms. Reedy?
Unfortunately, the way the law is written now, the producers are not responsible for any mistakes or any mishaps that happen from the driller. That's one of the things that really needs to be fixed. So if you have a big producer coming in who's leased your land, he hires a driller. The driller, if he spills something on your land or on your neighbor's land, he's responsible, not the producer. The driller's a small guy. He may be an independent driller. He may just be cheap, and that may be the whole reason he was picked. And the producer is in no way responsible. So there's just some problems with even if the drilling can be done right, it needs to be regulated so it is done right, and so that people are responsible if something does happen.
Thank you. One more comment, and then we'll give a chance for other commissioners to speak, and then we'll close the meeting. Ma'am?
You know, it's easy if you don't own any property in Pocahontas County to be very altruistic and say, I rent a house here and I look over all these acres and it's beautiful and I don't want it to be touched. However, if as many people who are here own all these acres and are making their living off of these acres, they look at it in a different way. And they're only, perhaps a small group this county is mostly owned by national forests, state forests, etc. And there's very few property owners here in this county in relationship to the size of property that is here. So I feel like that those who own property and own perhaps a substantial piece of property do feel very strongly this is a taking of their rights. And those who don't own property here really need to consider those who live in this county and own property in this county. Whether we were born here or came here by choice or whatever, we're here for a reason.
Thanks. I want to give other commissioners a chance to speak, and we're going to go ahead and close the meeting.
I just want to thank everybody for coming. I know it's late and you've been, and you're tired. I'm tired too. I agree with Mr. Snyder. I don't believe from what Dr. Carr said yesterday and from the other geologists that I've talked to, in addition to Dr. Carr, at WVU and at Marshall University, that drilling will ever happen in this county. It's not going to happen because of politics, because of any ordinance. It's not going to happen because of geology and the economics and the infrastructure. It's just not going to happen. But what are we doing here tonight? Are we arguing? No. What I think the value of our ordinance, which really nobody cared for, including myself, the value is that we get to talk about what we want as a community, what we value as members of a group of people who live together and work together, and what we honor among each other. And so the talk about water is not a wasted talk. It's an important talk because it talks about our future. It talks about our jobs. It talks about about our children. It talks about our property and what we value. So, you know, the best thing that happened tonight is we got together and we got to argue. So I do appreciate it. But let's not fight about something that I don't think we have to fight about. Let's try to agree about what we value as Pocahontas County people. Thank you.
Well, again, I'd like to touch on the subject. Pocahontas County has been a great place to live for one reason only. And about 90% of y'all sitting in here is that reason. You make smart decisions, you watched your land, you controlled it, and you make wise decisions over the years. And in my opinion, I feel like you as a landowner in Pocahontas County have the right to continue to make any decisions. And as a commission whole, we sit here and say we have no intention of passing this ordinance. The thing that bothers me is we had spent y'all's taxpayers' money to hire 2 attorneys and paid them at a rate per hour about 5 times what I have ever made in my life, period, to write ordinances like this. So if there was never no intentions of ever passing it, why are we paying 2 attorneys to write stuff like this? You know, it don't make sense to me. That's why I voted against it. You don't need an attorney if you got a problem. You know, we don't have a problem at this point. We got smart people in this county that's owned the land that knows how to take care of it. It's obvious it wouldn't be like it is today. And I appreciate y'all for coming. I thank you for coming out and voicing your opinion. And that's basically all I got to say.